So, the importance of objectivity could be quite easily overlooked, and yet it could quite possibly be one of the most important keys, if not the golden key, to the kingdom of the ears. We have our personal created self, our little creation for our experiences in the psych realms, and we have our senses, our 5 senses for our physical level experience. The 5 senses are described rightly so as the literal senses, their design perfect for the job they are ascribed, that of decoding and perceiving the physical level, and that is where their function ends. To recognize levels beyond the physical and astral and moving, literally speaking, into the higher levels and the real universes beyond creation is a recognition. We already stand everywhere simultaneously. There can be no differentials, as everything is. The trick is to recognize this. The personal self cannot see anything beyond itself, what it has established and accepted as its comfort zone, the life it has created for itself here, and the creational levels, physical, astral, that mainly it resides in. To be objective, then, has us moving beyond the limited considerations of the literal self and senses. We are, in fact, moving outside of our created selves, and standing now in our real position, and so we no longer are restricted to the literal senses. The literal senses being the domain of the lower psych realms, making it thus that we cannot see beyond these levels and recognize life levels and the real universes of the ears. The moment we step into an objective view, we have moved beyond the personal self, and can perceive far more than we might from the comfort zone of the little self. The real universes and the universal position can only be recognized if moving beyond the literal senses, and so all experiences are for comparative purposes. As we stand in creation, we regard an experience with our literal senses. We have access to a personal comfort safe interpretation that feels emotionally fine to our little self, but with awareness comes the ability to shift into an objective view. We regard the experience without being involved emotionally with it, and can now see it from our real positions of awareness, and can see far more of what the experience demonstrates. Life is thus far larger than our personal little selves, and we now have our comparison as we switch between the two general viewpoints. We have our personal view and our real view. The personal view is limited by its literalism, but a view that must represent creation, as it is the literal senses of the personal vehicle that are designed for creation. And so, if we have the awareness to connect to our real selves, if we switch to a real view, this is an objective view, and while in this state, we recognize the experience from a real being-isness perspective, and a far broader perspective, affording far more elements and variables. The comparison then is established, and we now have before us two views of the same experience, one from the perspective of a creational position, and one from the perspective of the real you, which is with the is. With continued and maintained intent to be with the is, as the awareness connection is sought and maintained and made more so, objective evaluation of experience becomes more practiced, and a standard way of being, until eventually the endless experiences which provide endless viewpoints for endless opportunities of objectivity and comparison between the personal and real you perspectives will have us ultimately recognizing the real universes and the is, and stand real there. Objectivity is indeed then the golden key, for to be in a state of objectivity allows one to be beyond the literal senses of a personal and subjective viewpoint, and then the comparison is made apparent between the two viewpoints, and recognition of the true reality comes into fruition. Everything in creation is experience for comparative purposes. Everything good, bad, and indifferent allows an opportunity for indifferent real self objectivity, comparison, and further recognition of the is. What the little self would label as bad experiences are especially valuable, as the greater the challenge of the experience, the more emotionally stimulating it may be, and then always the greater opportunity to stand real and objective in the face of extreme adversity. This is how we grow stronger, able to handle any situation. We do this, in fact, by keeping more and more the little self out of the way. because the more we stand in our real position, in a state of awareness, the better we can handle any situation, as the real self knows what to do in any eventuality. So we are not in fact getting stronger, we are simply deciding to stand to a greater degree as the real beings of light that we are. We can't be more so than we in fact are, as everything is, so we cannot add strength to that state of being. We are simply removing that which limits our ability to be in this state, and access the means by which we can handle any situation, i.e. the interference and interjection of the personal self. So, in a very extreme, emotionally baiting situation, the more we remain objective within it and leaning toward our real selves, the more we walk through these situations unafflicted. There can be no strength to be found in fully engaging the personal self. We step effectively out of our real power than of a true real light being, and now we are dealing with the situation with the limited tools of our personal selves, our emotion and mental input. These experiences are thus the most valuable, as these are the more challenging to remain indifferent in the face of. But, like anything, repetition is the key. It makes sense that life and the guides will provide such situations on the real side, as much as they might on the physical life levels, through altercations and antagonistic individuals. Little tests, if you will, but with any test, failure doesn't spell the end. The test can be repeated, and naturally repeated it will be. We are all put through our trials and lessons, and as harsh as they may seem at times, they are all for our own good, the good of our awareness. For if we remain in a comfort place, and never are challenged beyond what we have come to know and be, then that is where we remain stuck, until we do take another risky step, or confront our demons, internal and external. Draw strength from these experiences overcome. Learn better to be standing real in the face of the ever-escalating steps of adversity, as we face all of creation and ourselves, and move ever onward to embrace our real position with the ease. Here's a personal example. Not so long ago, I had rather an exchange with an individual. The nature of it isn't important, but it was in regards to one of my YouTube clips. To be fair, I wasn't too emotionally aggressive, at least not in what I typed in responses, but from where I was sitting, I was very much annoyed, and my astral emotional vehicle firing on all cylinders. Evidently, I failed that test, that opportunity to be indifferent in the face of adversity. Then, on the back of that, another similar occurrence, and within a week or so, and this time I remained indifferent and simply responded with light amusement. Then I received no further tests of this nature, and I would suggest then I had passed. If I had not, I may have received more, until I was able to stand with greater detachment. At the time, my personal self would be very annoyed indeed with the individual, and far less with the second one, but now quite the opposite. They provided me with an opportunity to be objective, and in essence assisted me with my process of being more aware. Who knows as to their intentions? It's likely we have dark controller stooges and plants in our midst. This would make sense, for the evil ones would wish to spy on the new presentation, and what better way to spy than to infiltrate? And even better, if they can cause emotional upheavals and stimulate personal interaction of this charged astral nature, as you can imagine, this would then act as distraction and sabotage for new friends' progress. But then these agitators can only succeed in their objective if allowed to do so. The only thing they can do is drag people into their personal selves through emotional agitation. And so the only power they have to do this, and to cause such, is that which we allow to give them. And in fact, we can take the experience as an opportunity for indifferent objectivity, and in a sense then these agitators are actually assisting our progress, if we consider it from this beneficial standpoint. People who do cause agitation of this nature may not necessarily realize they are being programmed by the dark forces to be such. If they lack the awareness to see this, then their motivations are all subliminal and subconscious. Deals made at life levels they lack the awareness to access. Much like the conspiratorial conspiracy peddlers, inadvertent reptilian stooges, as they provide information but not solutions, and no references to the ears or the guides. They are setting people up for tap lines through the emotional agreement to these ideas, and may believe in their personal selves that they are most righteous in their sharings. But again, they lack the awareness to see that not only are they assisting the calorm in keeping people emotionally restricted, tap-lined, and back for more lifetimes of slavery, but may well be reptilian themselves, due to their hand in causing the restriction and neglecting to reference the real universes and the new you solution on a mass scale, as the likes of David Icke do enjoy worldwide coverage and exposure. And unless you are working for the reptilians, if you lacked awareness and the protection such awareness and the guides provide, you would have been eliminated long before you gained such heights of global popularity. On the other side of the coin, maybe not all agitators are sent by the dark forces. Surely the guides will appreciate that even though the intention of the dark forces agitators are malign, they still provide a valuable lesson in indifference and objectivity. And so, if there are no agitating individuals sent by the dark forces, it makes sense to maybe set up such scenarios themselves, with, of course, benign intentions, as the guides only seek to assist the individuals on their process of awareness. So they may well pose as such characters themselves, or set up scenes of a distressing nature on the real side, just to afford us greater and greater intensity of experiences, that we can be indifferent and detached in the face of, and ultimately everything just bounces off us. The personal self doesn't even raise an emotional eyebrow, or even a guide may approach an individual on the real side the same way a controller might do, and whereas the dark brat programs and gleans the agreement of the individual by underhand methods, unless the individual is willing to work for the evil reptoids, the guides will approach and undoubtedly request that an individual might assist in providing an experience of an emotionally charged nature. It would be the free will of the individual to do so, and in fact they would be doing it for a beneficial reason, agreeing to maybe engage another in an emotionally antagonistic way, that the recipient has the experience for, again, the chance to practice the state of indifference. In either scenario, be the source of the suggestion dark forces or guides, the individual may not have the awareness to realize this, and find themselves motivated to attack another on the physical level. Little did they realize that in either case they are in fact assisting and providing a benefit, if the recipient takes the opportunity and regards it with indifference and objectivity. Then they can become stronger, that situations of a similar nature, or even more intense, can be better handled.